What is now happening? There was recently a central bank-led roadshow of banking, which started from the southern tip and went up to the northern tip. And you'd be amazed to hear that we opened 5 million farmers' account in 7 days, because people started realizing that they can get into the banking population, bankable. Our bankable population is very small. Now, unbankable population is very large. So we're trying to reverse the trend. Now, the way to find it out is a business model. How can you do it cost effective? Because in the traditional model of bricks and mortars and branches, it is getting very expensive to go and reach out there to the unbankable population. I would say it is a tremendous mindset change of the policymakers. The central bank used to remain rigid previously in allowing us electronic banking and allowing us telephone banking. We have now, in the last 6-7 months, we have had policies on payment and distribution systems, where the mobile operators are now coming in playing a role. Mobile in Bangladesh has actually done a revolution, and they have really reached to the furthest corner of the country, which brought in communication. We are talking about and creating a policy with the central bank, the Association of Bankers in Bangladesh, which I'm a chairman, also has a role in that we are actually in a dialogue to set up a process whereby the banking does not need to go in bricks and mortars.
What do you think is driving your regulator to become more progressive? Is it by looking at the other regulators in the South Asian context? How would you rate your regulator today relative to the Indian regulator, to the Pakistani regulator, to the Sri Lankan regulator?
I think there's a great learning that they're taking in from the Indian regulators. The Pakistani and Sri Lankan regulators is also a form, but I would still say today that there's a mode of conservatism when it comes to foreign exchange. But other than that, they are actually really opening up. I mean, 10 years back, private banks would not get licenses to go out. Private banks were not given licenses to go out where there's Bangladeshi ethnic community doing business. And we have large communities in Europe and Middle East doing business. Today, it's made very simple. You apply for a license, you apply for a process, if the central bank gives you permission. So there's a lot of encouragement from the regulators to actually liberalize. The financial sector, at the commercial end, that is us, we are picking up those signs very fast.
Now that you've got a good rating from both the rating agencies, both the global rating agencies, how do you think Bangladesh is going to be viewed by foreign investors, and how's that going to benefit the banks, both from an investment in itself, the banking community, as well as a conduit for investments in Bangladesh? Previously,
Bangladesh was an unknown quantity. So it was like people investing is because they thought their understanding was there of the economy and the country. And I call it a well-kept secret. The reason I call it a well-kept secret is because if you look at our regulations, our legislation in the parliament for foreign investment, we allow 100% foreign investment. We have export processing zones which you can just come in, the ready-made factories you can walk in. It does not take you 2 years to build something up in the country. We allow 100% dividend remittance. We guarantee by the Parliamentary Act your capital investment in Bangladesh. So if you look at the investment laws only, it is much more friendly to foreign investors. But we could do nothing about it. Why? Let's talk about it. Because we had a very negative image in the outside world. One, that we are catastrophe prone of natural disasters and catastrophe. Two, that our 90% population is Muslim. You have to understand that we are a very docile, moderate Muslim nation. We happen to be majority of people living in a country as Muslim, but we are not the fanatic group. Okay. Politically used by other countries, they push in the fanatic group into our country. You know, it's like sort of an espionage they sent in. But if you look at it, if you really do an analysis, I think we are a far safer place than even countries like Indonesia. Let's not talk about Pakistan.
Does the government in Bangladesh have assets that it can divest in order to shore up its finances even stronger? And is shoring up finances, state finances, a big priority in Bangladesh?
To answer your question number one, yes, they do have a lot of assets. There's a lot of debate going on that government should regulate and not do business. So in 73, we took the model of socialism and we nationalized everything, including banks. Now all banks are step by step being denationalized and sent back to the commercial world. We still have the three largest banks, largest in the sense of network. The Shonali, Agrani and Janata and Rupali still owned by government. But there is a huge disinvestment policy going on. Government has assets like the National Airline. They have assets like land. They have assets like the Tourism Corporation. Whether they are seriously in raising money, they raise money. They're again very conservative outlook, government after government. They raise money only that much is needed. There is not a planning on a 25-year and say, all right, let's now go and do it. That is the mindset change which I am looking at positively. And I think that
potentially coming in place or is in place, you think?
It's potentially coming in place. So these two ratings is the first mindset change. I mean, for 10 years, we've been talking to the central bank and the finance minister. Take our country to rating. Today, they very proudly say, you guys were wrong, we were right, we took it at the right time. I agree, maybe. Maybe I agree.
As a private sector bank in Bangladesh, are you talking to foreign investors?
Yes. We have a role. Most banks that are in this country are now into structured finance, equity advisory, and we keep on continuously talking to foreign investors coming in. Where is the investment now coming in? The investment is now coming in more in infrastructure side. 5 years back, we've done it to industry, which are smaller ones, like textile industry, spinning industry. There's been pharmaceutical foreign investments came in. And both Citibank, myself with a background coming from ANZ, Grindlays and Standard Chartered, have been working in the capital market and advisory roles, have been doing this to the foreign companies. Now is a very interesting time when we are talking to foreign investors coming in, and they are all looking at infrastructure, toll roads, flyovers, power generation, coal mining. We are looking into all that. You know, Bangladesh, though we say we have no natural resources, still has a lot of gas left in it. And we now need foreign investors to come in, and those are proven gases, but to explore and extract it. We have huge coal reserves. The government has been dilly-dallying on closed pit, open pit policy till we are now pushing it, whichever, go for it. I mean, open pit is bad for health, will move people out, but that's a cheaper extraction process and a quicker extraction process. So I think the banks are playing a role in advising foreign investors coming into Bangladesh.
What type of privatization model do you think Bangladesh should or will be taking, in your view, given the fact that if infrastructure is the big priority, then the build, operate, transfer model will create problems of its own. And if you juxtapose that against Bangladesh's political plurality in terms of the number of people who need to be satisfied in the process of building a country, it creates issues like corruption and so on. Do you think the state should be stronger than it is now, or do you think the state should be handling the process with a lighter touch?
Okay. We have been talking about BOTs and BOOs for a long time. It's been last 10 years this concept is going. The government last year in its budget declared a PPP, private-public partnership. I think this is something where we need to work. You know, there was a forum built in 2007 whereby the prime minister equivalent of the country would chair that forum, which was known as Bangladesh Better Business Forum. They had all the government and the private sector into it, developing strategies going forward for the country. And I think the PPP concept has come in from there, which I think is an excellent concept in the sense, why the public then? Because public has a role to play. Public has something which they need to push the business to go into and facilitate that. The BOT hasn't been very successful in our country because of the obvious reasons that we have on the transfer side of it. I think, and this is my will and desire, I do not know if that's the policy of the government, that government should take it more liberally, should aggressively pursue it, move their verbatim into action, and demonstrate to the world that what they are saying is what they are meaning very seriously. And the reason I say liberal, because infrastructures are large investments. It does not matter if foreign investment comes in. You know, we have very small fears, like we don't see the bigger picture. We think if foreign investment comes in, it's going to drain out our foreign exchange by declaring dividends. But then foreign investment is such a cycle that keeps on coming in, and the dividend cycle is much smaller than the investment cycle that comes in. That is where I think as a country we have failed. We have failed to market ourselves.